I just want to welcome your whole body to the meditation. And I don't know if you're the kind of person, anyone who's listening that sort of, I don't know, designs a party or has friends over or but just imagine you are and you're welcoming people into your home. You really want to create the best experience possible for them. You want them to feel welcome, to feel safe and loved and you want the evening to go well, right? This is how we want to welcome our whole self, our whole body to the meditation practice. There's no part of us that is not allowed in meditation. And although, of course, there's parts of us that we want to change or we don't like, that's natural and that's human. And that's natural when you're inviting people over for a party too. But we don't emphasize that when we're having a party, and we don't emphasize that when we're doing meditation. We want to welcome all the parts, the whole body, how it feels now, the comfortable and uncomfortable parts, the whole psychology, all the emotions, however they feel now, they're welcome to meditate. They're welcome to the meditation. They're the perfect thing for the meditation today. Even if you are doing meditation with the hope to change yourself in some way, which is very natural, the only way to really get the full benefits is to sort of stop trying to change yourself and really just look at yourself as non-judgmentally as possible, as welcoming and lovingly as possible. And welcome your environment and welcome my voice and settle in. Okay, so when I said settle in, some of you may, from years of practice, have actually settled in, and some of you may have found that difficult. So what we're going to do is explore a little more deeply what that experience of being settled in is like. So it really begins with that welcoming I was talking about. But there's parts of us that are much easier to welcome for our purposes. So one way to start settling in is to find in your body parts of your experience that are already settling in. If that word doesn't work for you, think relaxed, peaceful. And what part of your body just feels good? We're practicing equanimity. At the far end of this practice, you get into a kind of equanimity in which you would be willing to stay here forever. Like you're just like, this could go on forever. It would be great. I don't know if you've ever had something in your life where you're like, I hope this never ends, or I wish I could do this for hours and hours and hours. That's sort of the beginning of that taste. And so just focusing on the body. I'm going to talk about the breath. If you can find some part of the breath that is pleasant or peaceful. And then you want to get really curious about what does it feel like to feel good? That is, what does it feel like to feel peaceful? What does it feel like to feel settled in or okay? So if your breath in your nostrils or your breath in your belly or your breath anywhere in your body feels peaceful, pleasant, you want to get curious about what that feels like. We're not ignoring that we might not feel great everywhere else. We just want to get curious. We want to investigate. But the investigation is just, it's like the investigation of a microscope. It's not a lot of thinking, it's just purely observation. So let's get clear about what kind of observation is most useful here. It's the most basic observation that we want to start with, the most simple observation. Is this breath cool or hot? Is it more cool to the left or the right or the top or the bottom or whatever? Really observing, for instance, the basic temperature experience. If you're in the belly, you might notice not a lot of, you might not notice a lot of temperature, so you could focus on the pressure. So pressure on the skin or inside the body as the breath expands or contracts. Another very simple thing to focus on is when does the breath begin and when does it end? Just tracking very closely so that you can be there and experience the beginning of the in-breath. There. The beginning of the out-breath. There. And the end of the out breath. Now, if I just described to you, hey, let's experience some peacefulness, you'd think that would be pretty easy to do, but it's really not. The mind does not naturally inclined to spend a lot of time in peacefulness. So you want to notice the objections that are arising in your either in your mind or in your body. An objection could be voiced by just the fact that your attention keeps going to something else. Or it could literally just, mind could just say, this is boring. I'd rather be doing something else. And these objections are fine. There's nothing wrong with these objections. They're pretty important to listen to. And then we just bring our attention back and say, well, there can't be anything wrong with like focusing on something peaceful for a little while. And eventually, even the mind will get on board because there's an immediate reward. If you can actually focus on something pleasant, you get the reward of a pleasant experience. So, what are some things that we settle in for? We might settle in for a nap. So, we find a very comfortable place and curl up, get to the right temperature and make everything quiet, and we settle in for a nap. We're planning to stay in this one place for a little while, and the settling in is making it comfortable. It's like a dog who's kind of like scratches the blanket for a while to get it shaped right, and then spins around and then settles in. This is what we want to develop a relationship to our meditation so that we settle in. Now, we're not going to go to sleep, but it's a similar kind of comfort we want to get with sitting down for a while. We might settle in for a movie, same kind of thing. We're like, I'm going to be here for 2 hours. I've got my popcorn, I've got my arm around my friend or my partner, could settle in to watch a sunset, could settle in if there's a storm and you just want to wait for it to pass. Now, as I describe these things, you might be a kind of person who doesn't settle in very often, even in normal life, not even in meditation, which are always, your body's always like, oh no, we still got to adjust something. We got to fix something. Got to get up and do something else and then come back. It's very, very normal. We don't as a culture settle in very often. As I talked about settling in, is there a part of your body, the breath is still there, but is there a part of your body that can feel what it would be like to curl up in a comfy place, maybe as a storm, uh, rain hits the window, See, when we imagine something, it's not just a picture in our mind, our body starts to generate feelings about it. So, can you feel in the body, anywhere in the body? It doesn't have to be most of the body, it can be the smallest part of the body. What would it feel like to settle into a safe place? To say, I'm going to be here for a while, and that's good. Like I'm really looking forward to just being here for a while. This is another way of describing what meditation is. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go be here for a while. So, can you find some part of your body that is settling in already, that feels settled in, or f feels it in response to the imagining of it? Where is that part of your body? Where is that feeling? Is it on the skin? Is it in the interior of the body? Is it actually in your seat where you're sitting? Is it in your belly? Is it in your heart? Can be a very warm heart experience to settle in. It can just be in your face. You can just feel maybe some relaxation or a smile energy in your face. And again, we're curious about this as we would be curious about looking at something under a microscope. We're we're doing a little thinking to find our way to the feeling, but the feeling is what matters. So we let go of the thinking now. If you found some part of your body that has some connection to settling in, to relaxing, again, this is all peacefulness and pleasure, all the things. But particularly today, this settling in feeling, and you just feel what it feels like. What's the pressure? What's the temperature? What's the shape? Just observe it. Now, our attention will keep wanting to go to parts of us that are not settled in. By nature, the mind doesn't like to settle, but our body does like to settle if you give it the opportunity. So you have to notice when your attention wanders to all those parts of the body that are not settled, or to the future or the past, and then bringing the attention back. And this is the only way to settle is to feel settled. That's all there is to settling, really. And we do external things like get a blanket and make the cushion soft, but you don't settle in until you settle in. And that is, you're not settled in until the feeling of like, okay, I'm good to be here arrives. And we all know that feeling. Question is, can you access it right now? So the first most important element of meditation is this little skill we need to learn of being able to keep our attention on something. And anyone can learn it. It just takes practice. So today you may only be able to stay with this feeling for a second or two before your mind wanders. Then you bring it back. Mind wanders and you bring it back. You may get distracted for 5 minutes. Then you got to remember, oh yeah, I got to bring it back. But over time, you'll be able to stay with a settled feeling or any feeling. And what you want to start to notice with some of these positive feelings is that they have a tendency to spread. They have a tendency to perpetuate themselves if you give them attention. So it takes you learning how to stay with it long enough for that to happen. If you start to stay with this settled in feeling, you might be experiencing that it's getting deeper. It's getting wider. It's starting to invade the rest of your body. Invade is kind of a dark word, but like to spread through the rest of your body. And what we're just focused on is the settle in feeling. It doesn't have to be at the first place you notice it. If you start to notice the feeling of getting settled in more of the body, or even more globally, as if it starts to become the majority feeling in your body, then just notice all of that. Again, we don't think about it, we observe it. What does it feel like to have a body that feels settled? If you start to lose contact with that feeling, keep going back to the places where it's strongest. Again, there's no goal to feel perfectly settled in here. We just are practicing giving attention to that feeling. It's not a failure if you don't feel settled in. That's just not a failure. We accept how the body is. But if you do feel that spreading settled in, then you just want to pay attention to it. And there are layers to this feeling. Most of us don't know how deep this feeling can go, how perfectly okay we can be with everything here right now. Most people have not experienced the depth of the okayness that's possible. And so it just requires spending time until this feeling sort of invades every cell of your body, every thought, every feeling. When you're truly settled in eventually, anything you hear or feel or think, your mind, if I were to ask you the question, what if this were to go on forever? This feeling, you go, great. And just do one last scan through the body. And you find some part that is just the most settled in. It just feels like this part is totally okay with everything. And this is sort of it's kind of like trying to see a wild animal. You can't make a huge effort. You just got to open your attention and just see, does anything arise as feeling particularly settled in? And I tell you something that was surprising, but most of you is very settled in. It's just the mind is very, very, very bad at seeing that part of you. It's just trained to do the opposite. So we have to practice waiting, but it's actually not, it's okay if you can't see it today, but it's not something that's rare. It's there in your body and it's there in yourself. Okay. And so we just allow our body to move, open our eyes when we're ready. And as you do that kind of stuff, you can see if you can maintain some contact with this feeling or any sensation of being at peace, being okay. One reason we keep coming back to the place that feels the most settled in or the most relaxed is because it can be very useful if we start to learn, and if we do this regularly, we'll start to learn what parts of our body are already kind of okay, and then we'll spend more time with them. And then as we're going through our actual life, and there'll be this place we can return to as part of our experience. And even as your mind might be saying nothing's all right, there'll be this part of your body going, no, everything's okay, and that will give some perspective and on the way the mind judges the world. Okay, thanks for stopping by Facebook. Always welcome to join us here on Zoom discussion every Saturday morning at 8:30.